Welcome to the Effects Loop. I'm Scott.
I'm Blake.
We're keeping you in the loop with the guitar community.
Not if I'm on this one.
Uh-oh. You know I don't edit anything out. Be careful with
you don't edit anything at all? Ever?
I have no idea.
Okay, good. I was going to say, you're going to have to cut all that stuff I've said about Diaz earlier. You're going to have to take it all out.
Uh-oh.
It's not going to, he won't be my friend anymore.
Don't worry, Diaz doesn't listen to the podcast.
Maybe he would if he's not on it.
Dude, do you ever listen to your episodes? Can you? Or is it like a weird experience for you?
It's a weird experience. It never has really gotten... It's gotten a little bit better just because, okay, I'm like... Between Chasing Tone and between Tone Mob, I'm like 500 plus episodes in, plus doing, other various pieces of content here and there. So it's gotten better. It's gotten bearable, but it's still a strange experience, and I don't like it. I don't. It's not that I can't. It's not that I can't understand why people listen to it. It's just I don't want to hear myself. I hear myself all day. I was on a phone call with Devon Whitaker the other day for 5 hours. And
I saw you post that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's probably one of the longest phone calls I've ever had. But I've had many days where I've had multiple 2-3 hour phone calls. I'm just talking constantly, and in my spare time, I don't want to hear this guy talk. I hear it enough.
I still have that weird thing. Like even when we're recording, I do a talk back, so I hear myself on mic, so I know to like stay here and not go over here, do that kind of stuff, because
right.
SM7s are super sensitive. And also got rid of my kind of stuff. Like you can always tell if someone doesn't listen to themselves if they keep doing that kind of stuff. But like, it's kind of weird how much still like I don't recognize my own voice.
Yeah, it really changes. You don't realize how you sound to other people until you listen back, and you're like, I thought I sounded deeper and more manly than that. What's going on? It's all that resonance in your own skull. You're literally hearing your bones vibrating.
Yeah.
And no one else hears that.
Well, it's a great one of the fun mechanisms of it is you can hear yourself when you're wearing earplugs.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
No one else can.
No one else knows.
So what's new with you, man?
Oh man, I don't know. I've just feel like I'm just doing the same old thing. Well, I started working on a project over Memorial Weekend kind of randomly that I'm pretty excited about. It started as a song, and then it morphed into, okay, I'm going to do an album, and then it morphed into, okay, I'm going to do the album and the book and a book. And so I'm working on it's sort of a spoken word project, but it's also got a lot of music involved too. Basically, I've been listening to too much Tom Waits, and I was like, I want to try some of that. So
nice.
I started writing some stuff. I haven't purely just wrote in a long time. I've done some like scripting for comic books and some other things, but I haven't just wrote with the express purpose of having it be a written word piece in a long time. And so I just started kind of going, and I'm like really excited and really feeling it. So I'm excited to get this done. I think if I can keep up this pace, I should be done with that portion of it within a month or so, and able to flesh out the music portion of it relatively quickly too. So that'll be fun.
Nice. Have you finally kind of figured out like a way to like synthesize or not synthesize, but like find your creative time?
I sort of have to be, it's kind of a combination of things. I have to be deliberate about it when it comes. So if all of a sudden I get an idea that I'm really excited about, I have to figure out a way to get to it as quickly as possible.
Nice.
And once I start hammering away at it, then it's just like all bets are off. Like I could be working on this for the next 3-4 hours potentially. So I kind of have to basically take it as it comes. And if I don't do that, oftentimes the ideas completely fizzle out or lose the spark, and it just goes away completely. So I kind of have to like, oh no, the muse is here. Let's quick. Let's get out to there. Get a guitar. Get get a keyboard, get whatever it is that you're trying to do. At the very, very least, I have to hum it into the old voice memo thing. So that's like the bare minimum. So if I'm out somewhere
Mm-hmm.
and I get an idea and you see me wandering around like in my phone, that's me, because I had an idea that may suck, but I have to get it down.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I've heard of so I have like no like regularity to when my creative energy comes. And I mean, during the pandemic, to be honest with you, my creative energy has just been gone. Like it's been, well, just get through the day, get what you need to do, done. So I've been starting to try to think about like I miss guitar creativity. I miss all that. And part of that was just simply like buying pedals constantly. And like sort of my gear obsession was kind of feeding the creativity thing. And to be honest with you, I haven't bought a pedal in a while. I mean, I bought the Quad Cortex, which was fun, but it's almost too much and it doesn't really bring creativity out of me. And then I have like my board just like locked down. So like I have the sounds I like ready to go, but I'm not swapping stuff in and going, oh, that's weird. You know, I'm just not doing that. So maybe the answer is I need to buy some guitar pedals, but I'm trying not to, because simply it's just like I just kind of got to that point where I was just like, I just have too much, and I don't know.
Yeah, I got to that point too.
Yeah.
I have way too much, but I mean, this isn't going to be helpful for you being responsible at all.
Yeah.
But that is a huge driver for me. Is the variety that I have on hand, because I have an idiotic amount of effects pedals.
Well, and your whole I don't have a pedal board thing.
That's huge. Like that I didn't realize it at the time, but that has become how, like, sort of foundational in how I create. So like, let's see what this hologram pedal is doing if I put it, with this reverb in front of it, and see what it does. And that sometimes it's awful and sometimes it's wonderful, but that is like the entirety of the American Cyclops record, was me putting together weird pedal combinations and being like, well, I can make something with that. That's become just part of who I am as a musician, and it's weird, but I wouldn't have it any other way at this point.
See, I'm becoming so synthesized with it, where I'm like, well, if I get it, I have to lock it in forever and be able to recall it, because like that's where I got with stuff with like all the MIDI, all the presets, all those kind of things, made life really consistent, and I just plug in and everything works all the time. But on the flip side, it's just like there's never anything new.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like if I had to go back and recreate some of that stuff, it would take me a little bit to remember exactly how it was set up and exactly how I had it dialed in. But I think as long as I have that reference point, that recording, I'll be able to do it. So I'm not too concerned about it. I'm not too worried about that. Or at least close enough that it's like, yeah, that's basically what it sounded like.
Yeah. Interesting.
It's I don't know. I think finding it, I don't care what your process is. It doesn't matter what it is. There's no right way to do it. There's no wrong way to do it. But I think it's important to get into a process and be willing to just submit to it. That's the big thing that I struggled with for years, was being able to submit to just do it. And I was always trying to be so intentional with it. I'm like, I want to make a country song, or I want to make a whatever kind of song. And I'd sit down with the intention that I'm going to make a country song. And it wouldn't sound very good, because I was trying to force something that wasn't naturally going to come out. And then when my wife just said, like, maybe this is what you do, I was like, maybe it is what I do. And now I'm just like, whatever comes out is what comes out. And that's been it's brought like that spark and that joy back to it in a way that I'd kind of lost without realizing I'd lost it.
I mean, part of it too is just like the concept of like failing, and like you just got to screw up over and over and over and over again. And so sometimes we think of like that muse just hit us and something magic happened, when the reality is we just were doing stuff that we've been doing over and over and over again. That moment, it just worked.
Definitely.
And so I know a lot of people try to do let's make it a habit. So you have your daily habit kind of thing. So like you see people who are like, I'm going to just write for 15 minutes. It doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be something I even keep, or it can be something I toss, but I just every day, same time, same place, getting into that habit of I'm going to just work this part of whatever I'm doing. I mean, I have that with like, even like with work stuff. I now have like segments of my week where I'm like, so I do cold calling like sometimes, or like reach outs, trying to set up meetings, trying to meet new clients, that kind of stuff. Like that's part of my job. If I don't do it, it never comes naturally.
Right.
Right. And so it's one of those things like I will sit and avoid it. Just won't get to it. I won't do anything. So now I'm like, I flag parts of my calendar where I'm like, this is the time to go do it. Just do 2. Just do 3 and see what happens. And usually, you'll have 1 or 2 failures and you'll have 1 decent call, or you'll keep calling the same person trying to connect, or all that kind of stuff. So part of it is just like the discipline of doing it, regardless of whether you feel like it or not.
Yeah. And for me, and I think this works for more people than maybe we would like to admit, but the whole deadline thing was crucial. Like I can procrastinate. Like I'm great at it. It's a superpower of mine is procrastination, but I also basically am allergic to letting people down. If I've said I'm going to be there, I'm going to be there unless something completely out of my control happens.
So that like social kind of pressure.
Yeah. So by like stating to like my text chat people that I was like, hey, I'm gonna have this done by this date. I was done way ahead of schedule because I was like, I got to get done. And so it took a little while to get it like mastered and stuff, but the music was done well in advance of that date, and that felt really good. Nice. Because I'd never really done that before. I sort of did it when we recorded the Anchor Ashore record, but that wasn't just me. That was a big group effort. So having it all on me and just like being like, I have to get this done at this time was a big driver in the creative department, which I didn't think it would be. I thought that might be stifling, but it actually like just was like go time,
Yeah. Well, so I tried to do that. I had, so I started going to this new church, I don't know, a couple months ago. Really great music program. And that, that's where most of where I've played guitar has been, an environment like that. I know the guitar players there. I know the music directors, I like did the social networking side of things there. And one of my buddies is like, so Scott, when are you finally going to put your tryout in? When are you going to finally, do the audition? All that kind of stuff. I'm just like, I just don't feel it. So I actually made a bet with him or I was like, all right, give me another month just to kind of figure out what I'm doing. If I don't get that, you get to steal one of my guitars for a while.
Woo.
It's June 1st, so I think I think I'm getting a guitar stolen from me when he figures this out. I think he's eyeing my Revolta, so I'm not opposed to it because I want him to buy it. But
well, this wasn't a very big motivator. Then you didn't have real skin in the game.
Yeah, see, there's that because I've been planning on selling that guitar anyway. When actually, I haven't talked about this on the show. I'm having an Equits built right now.
Ooh.
Yeah. So if Kevin's posting an Ashford being hand carved on social media, that's mine.
Yeah. Oh, very nice.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
That's gonna be awesome. You're gonna be so stoked.
Well, dude, I've been on that list for like 4 years now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. My number came up, I don't know, 2 years ago, and went, hey, buddy, can we put a delay on that? Because I'm about to buy an engagement ring. So. Right. And so now I still have that engagement ring. Don't have a fiance, but
you got to trade that thing in.
Yeah, I got
an Equit.
Dude, the way stuff happened, pandemic, I just haven't really felt like going to a jewelry store and getting some money back. But
no, I get it. Probably, just talk to Kevin. You send it right to Kevin. He'll do it for you. That'll take care of it.
I think he'll get a better deal for how much I spent on that dang ring. But yeah, so like I waited, and so my name finally came up, and also timing's perfect because we're all heading to Nashville in like July, so hopefully it'll be like neck shaping time, and we'll be able to kind of chat and get some of those hands on the guitar kind of time. So should be
nice.
Cool.
Very nice.
I have not talked about that out loud to folks. I'm kind of keeping that one a secret because I kind of figured it would be like your Oceana for him because it's going to be Pelham Blue. So like people are just going to fall in love with this thing.
Yeah, baby.
And I kind of didn't want people like hitting me up on Instagram trying to buy it or stuff like that because I don't know. Anyway.
I don't know. If it's anything like my Oceana, what'll happen is it'll get screenshotted and it'll get shared on like 100 different Best Guitars Daily accounts is what'll happen. Or sometimes it'll be their biopic. Yeah, that one's an eye catcher. People love the blue, and that Ashford is gonna look so good in Pelham blue.
Yeah, and we're doing a Duesenberg trim on it too, instead of a Bixby.
Yes, that's the way.
Whatever their name is, Goldo or whatever their name is. So it's not a real it's not Duesenberg branded, but it's it's the people who make the Duesenberg trim.
Oh, I didn't know that there was a I thought that that's maybe one thing they actually made. So
no, so like you know how like Revoltas have them.
Yes.
Yeah, as I'm pointing off screen to
for all the listeners. He's pointing at a Revolta.
That's hanging on the wall behind me. Yeah. It's the big boy of that, so I got the wraparound.
That's going to be awesome. I love how those feel. Those feel so nice.
Well, because you can adjust them too. With those 2 set screws, you can move the bar up and back, so you can have a short bar if you want it, or you can have a long one. Mm-hmm. It's perfect.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
That's going to be sweet, man. And yeah, I mean, that Revolta is really cool, but by comparison, I mean, you know.
Well, and
there isn't one, basically.
I'm running out of space, so it's definitely guitar in, guitar out territory for me these days, so.
Ew, that sounds terrible.
Well,
that's terrible.
Some of us live in the city of Chicago and can't just build a shed in their backyard.
You just build a shed on your roof of your building. It'll be okay.
I'm sure the other 4 floors above me would just be totally okay with me building a shed above them.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, it's not their. It's not their building any more than it's yours. You know, just build it. Just build it up there. It'll be okay. You mean the city of Chicago won't let you just like hang a balcony out your window where you could like build a shed randomly? No.
Nope.
Not so chill.
I don't know if you heard about this, but a few years ago, a bunch of balconies started collapsing in Chicago.
No, I did not hear about that. They changed the
structural code.
Well, that'll do it. If anything's gonna do it, that'll do it.
Well, so like in Chicago, in at least like this side of the city, there's a lot of brick buildings that then got like these kind of like wood scaffolding kind of design balconies put on them.
Okay.
So a lot of people have a back stairwell at their building.
Okay.
On top of the main stairwell or the front door, and then there's balconies on all those on that stairwell. So it's a really common thing here. And then there were like a summer where like 3 or 4 of them collapsed within like a month or 2 of them. Bear in mind, these are people who are having like 30 people on their balcony for their 1-bedroom apartment kind of things.
Right.
But yeah. So there's a little bit different of a code these days in Chicago.
Yeah, I imagine so. Yeah, the shred shed was very much just I'm like, well, I got this space and we're gonna build it, and so I built it.
Well, we're actually doing the show out of order a bit, aren't we? Because I forgot to say that this episode is brought to you by Stringjoy.
Oh, you did. You forgot.
Blake,
good thing you said it.
Do you know anything about Stringjoy, Blake?
I know a little bit about them. I didn't just get off the phone with Scott before we started recording this or anything. Yeah, I know a little bit about them. Sure.
You know a little bit about what's in the works?
I do know a little bit about what's in the works, and there's some good stuff in the works. The problem is, they're trying to keep up with production while also expanding the product line, and that's hard when all of a sudden there was like a run on bass strings, and everyone and their dog needed bass strings, and we couldn't keep those things in stock. Like early May, like we couldn't keep bass strings in stock. It was ridiculous. I don't know what happened. I have no idea.
Did all
why.
The bass players finally sync up that they're once a year string replacement?
I think that might have been it. It was like, and then just email and message. Where's your bass strings? Where're the bass strings? I'm like, why does everybody need bass strings all this time? I mean, it's good problems to have, obviously, but it's still a problem we had to work through. So, yeah, bass strings were a hot commodity in May for some reason. I don't know what the deal is. But yeah, we got some more stuff coming. I'm excited about it, but I don't have any idea when it's going to be available. So that's pretty much all I can say.
Well, then maybe people should go to stringjoy.com and sign up for the newsletter to find out when those things do happen.
That's right.
Because you had a few special trial runs that came out through that. Like there was the coated string trial run, which
there's a coated acoustic string. which happened. How long ago was that?
It's a couple months.
Probably 3-4 months ago. I'm coming up on almost a year that I've had it on my dad's acoustic. So that, now granted, that guitar doesn't get played nearly as much as I play guitar, but it's still, I play it every time I go to his house. And I'm like, these are still good. So,
well, I was gonna say the uncoated string joys for me tend to last like, unless it's like my number one, like ever since I've been at home, I basically only play my PRS because it's like, it's the guitar that's there.
and always in tune.
Yeah. Well, no, it's not always in tune, but because it's a floating bridge, so it's,
Okay.
it's never quite in tune, to be honest with you. But like I burn straight through strings probably twice as fast on my PRS as I do any other guitar. But a lot of my like regular players, I go like 5-6 months sometimes on the regular strings. As long as you clean them, they last a long time. So
Yeah, and a lot of that has to do with, now granted, everybody's sweat is different, but like there are definitely people who eat through them really fast, and there's just nothing you can do about that other than have a coated string. But like a lot of that goes into like, I mean, I've been there a bunch of times, and like the way that you handle the raw materials, it makes such a huge difference. And if you like look at videos of different outfits, you're like, they're just out there. They're just out there in the open, in the air, and it's like, some of this is raw carbon steel. Like it's going to get, even if it doesn't look like it, it's going to get stuff on it. So it's like keeping those clean and keeping them sealed up or in a separate room is super important. And I'm always shocked that people don't really do that. It's not common practice. It doesn't seem to be anyway. I don't know what the deal is, but I think that is a lot of why even the standard stuff tends to last for people a little bit longer. But this is the longest segment you've ever had on this, hasn't it?
well, it helps when the sponsor's on the show.
I'll stop talking now.
Yeah, our longest running sponsor, our, all those kind of things. Well, shoot, let's get into some gear news, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. I did not open the first link.
Cool.
So first up, Beatronics comes out with the Vespa, an octave stinger combining digital controls with analog fuzz. Now, Blake, this is I have to have you on the show if we're talking about fuzz.
Okay. Well, sounds good. That works for me.
Talk to me. What's
I can't talk about it because I've never played one, but I think it looks super cool. The Beatronics stuff, I need to get my hands on some of it because it all looks amazing. They've got some of the coolest aesthetics. I think I think that can be polarizing. Some people don't like them as well, but I do. I think this pedal seems pretty cool, although I don't know that it necessarily, I haven't played one, but I don't know that it necessarily like fills a big gap for me personally. I feel like I can get these sounds, maybe not in one unit like this, but I can find a way to cobble this together, I think.
I mean, I'm trying to think of a way to describe fuzz sometimes without using generic things, but you get a really nice, these are a lot more focused in some of the modes. And so when you add the octave on to the focus fuzz sound, that has like a really nice kind of filter sound to it.
Right.
It doesn't sound like Jack White playing.
Right.
Which is,
that is a specific thing.
Yeah. But like that is a classic, like, an octave up on a fuzz. That's sort of the sound I think of in my head is like, oh, cool, White Stripes. And I'm moving on. This is a little different. Got a lot more of a synthy kind of a vibe from it, at least in some of their beginning. And that has a lot to do with how they're setting their bias and how they're doing all that kind of stuff. Because that's
and however they've got their tone shaping, however the filters work on it, that'll have a lot to do with the synthy nature of it, which I think is a lot of fun.
Yeah, so they're actually claiming you can actually use power chords on this thing, which I'm shocked by. I mean, most fuzzes you can't. It's one note or you're done.
No, come on. I don't know what people are talking about. You can use power chords on fuzz. That's all I do. That's all I do. I don't do anything else.
Yeah. But the other thing you can check them out, they're sitting just a little above the $200 mark. I always pull up the wrong pricing. Yeah, right at $200. So that's the other fun part is, traditionally Beatronics has always been just a little too expensive for me. Was it the Royal Jelly was the one I was really thinking about picking up?
Yeah.
And I just could it's just outside of that, like, okay, I can impulse buy it spot.
Right.
So coming in and as they're coming in with these smaller units and they're kind of bringing their price point down on some of their line, I think you're going to see more people picking these up and trying them out.
Yeah, I think they've been a brand that's done a really great job at branding.
Yeah.
Like, especially like how do you stand out in 20 whenever they came out? I think 2018-ish, 17
Are they
maybe.
that new? Really?
I feel like they're pretty new.
Wow.
Maybe they were 2015. They're not that old of a company. I don't know exactly when they popped up, but it's sometime within the last 5-6 years.
Okay. Because they have a lot of fun with their branding. Because like, you ever pop them open, they do honeycomb printing on like their circuit boards, and they do all this. They get what they are.
Yes, they do, and they seem like they're really well made, and the packaging is all like really well executed too. Like the whole experience of Beatronics, I think, is really cool, and they've done a great job at making some unique products, but also like differentiating themselves in everything that they do. Even their NAMM booth, like their
NAMM booths are always great.
Yeah, they've really made the most of those smaller spaces. They have like the coolest, what is that, a 10x10 spot that they have? I can't remember what this booth size is, but it's a smaller booth, and they really make it a focal point, which is hard to do when you have that small of a booth.
Well, the thing they did that was brilliant the one time I went to Winter NAMM was they have a video with multi-channel audio in it, already set up, ready to go, and the pedal is in line. And so as you're listening to their demo, they kind of explain to you how you should tweak the pedal as you go.
Right.
And so you actually get to hear it in a band context with a competent player, which is in a headphone thing. It was one of those best places where I was like, oh yeah, I can really see where this goes, or this works and this works, which I was just flat out impressed with, because like I think that was with the Swarm. I was they did that, and I was blown away. Like I know that's a ton of work to get going, but that made that pedal feel so accessible when you're in a sea of like, just here's our pedal for this, here's our for this. Like I think I went to Jam Pedals right before, and I was like, there's too many pedals here. I can't try all these things. I'm overwhelmed, and like I can't get out from under that. Whereas I went to that booth and it was like, here's our one pedal. Check this out in context. Here's how you should try it out. You kind of had your hand held in a really nice way. And also, if you wanted to go extreme, you could. It was a really cool way to demo a pedal in a space where no one else was really doing it that way.
It's hard to do anything at NAMM and walk away with a good sense of what the thing is, even if it's a straightforward thing. So I think that's almost what's required to get anybody to have a really good sense of what something does. Because otherwise, I mean, you're just putting headphones on, you're like, oh yeah, okay, I kind of get it, and then you just move on. So it's hard to, and then like you might be excited about it, but you don't walk away with any like real impressions or information. And I think that the way they did it, you actually do, which is kind of refreshing.
Yeah, so check them out, Beatronics. The next thing up on the list is Thorpe Effects has come out with their Pulse Doppler phaser. This adds both a phaser effect in with a vibrato and tremolo to get some oscillating psychedelic weirdness. I got nothing.
It's another Dan Coggins one, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah, he's affiliated with them now. For those that don't know, Dan Coggins was with Love Tone.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, he did that. It was the Deep Ogden was the first one he did with them, the chorus, right? And then this one, I'm really excited about this one. The thing about Thorpe is like all of the stuff Adrian makes is very like, oh, this is a Big Muff variant. This is a whatever. This is a whatever. With these new modulation ones, I like, especially this one. I'm really curious to play it because I'm like, you've taken some basic stuff, and I guarantee you with Dan on board and with Adrian's not going to let anything bad go out, but like it's going to be tuned to like just like It's gonna work really well. I'm very confident that this is going to be a really fun modulation pedal that feels really good. That's the thing about Thorpe. They always feel really good to me.
I mean, you can really tell a lot about a brand when you see who their champions are. And Thorpe is one of those brands where the tone snobs champion him.
Yes. Been good reason. You know, I think he deserves it. It's he spends a lot of time with things. He's very, particular about how a circuit comes together. And I think that comes out in the final product, even if you don't know that about him. It's just like, wow, this is a great pedal. It's just a great pedal.
Yeah, and I mean, here's the other fun one is I think all these we built in tremolo. I know a lot of people will be like, okay, it's just two pedals slapped together. I can do this with my phaser and my tremolo. There's something interesting that happens when you have that built-in effect with it. Just I'm probably the worst about this is how many fuzz pedals with a built-in tremolo circuit I've bought over the years. Right. And then just go, well, I have a fuzz pedal and I have a tremolo. Why do I need this? But there's something about when it's tied together and they're purpose meant for each other, they just seem to just marry really well and create this whole different breadth. Because like I can totally see with a phaser, I'd want an out of phase tremolo with it. So like when you get the dips, you can kind of keep a stable volume kind of a thing going on, or all the different types of things you could do in it get really interesting. Sometimes you really want them together. So
yeah, and I think that these are going to be, I don't know because I don't have one, but I would have to imagine that like they're also going to be timed correctly, if that makes any sense. So it's like if you put the phaser knob in one spot and the tremolo knob in another spot, they're probably going to be timed where they sound good in those positions together. Whereas if you're slapping two different things together, you might have to play with it a little bit more precisely than that. That's just my assumption. But
yeah, you're gonna have to go into the MIDI world and get everything perfectly synced otherwise. And
yes,
yeah, I don't love phaser that much yet.
I love phaser. You just got to hit it with enough fuzz and it becomes magical. That's all you got to do.
You know what? I had a few phasers. I went through a bunch. And I found the Walrus Lillian really kind of hit that spot I really liked. But then I started getting the itch to have an envelope filter on my board too. And I found the Keeley Bubbletron. And that does everything I want.
Keeley Bubbletron's great.
Except it doesn't really have presets. That would be the one thing I would love for it to like hop back and forth from. But then that would just be a crazy pedal.
Hey, never say never. You never know what the Rob's cooking up over there.
At some point, actually, that would be a decent segue if I go out of order for a minute. What is Rob cooking up? He's bringing back the Katana Clean Boost. Did you see this?
I think they might have sold out.
Yeah, they probably did.
I think they did. I think they sold out like really, really fast. But the one with the knob on the side where you can pull for an extra 30 dB because apparently you need an extra 30 dB of boost, I guess.
30 dB a boost is ridiculous, by the way.
Yeah. I think that's how that works. It's got the knob on the side.
Yep.
And then if you pull it, I think the pulling just all of a sudden you have 30 dB. Which is I think is how it works.
It's an extra, it's an extra 30 dB. It's crazy.
You might need an extra 30 dB in case for people who don't know, that's decibels are exponential, so that might not sound like that much, but if you're doing it on top of what you've already gotten, that's a lot. I think the EP booster alone
does 20.
20. Okay, I was gonna say it's 20 or 26. So, and that's plenty. So the Katana's really going for it here.
Yeah, the Spark booster does 20 as well. Like 20 is a really common amount. But the 30 is just. I think the pedal itself starts breaking up at that point, doesn't it? Don't you get a little dirt just from the pedal?
I don't know on the Spark. I guess I don't know how it's done. I don't know if the Katana, that's what I meant to say. I don't know if the Katana is a single stage boost or if it's a double stage boost. So if it's a double stage boost, I would assume that second stage would start breaking up. That would be my assumption.
Yeah, it would have to.
But I don't know if whatever Rob's got cooking in that thing, if he's using the right chipset or whatever. I have no idea because I don't know what the circuit of the Katana is. But
the Katana's a JFET booster. So
is it?
Yeah.
It could stay clean. It could potentially stay clean the whole time. I think.
Dual FET layout.
Dual FET? Okay, then it probably doesn't. It probably starts crunching up pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, if you run it at 18 volts, which I think on this one you can, yep. Yeah, you'll get a little bit more clean headroom, but even still.
My assumption is that Rob's probably going to call me and be like, no, this is not how it works. But my assumption is that it's 2 JFET stages.
Yep.
And once you turn up the knob, like if you crank the knob to the max and then pull it, I think that extra 30 dB is probably just engaging that second stage, is my assumption. And if you have the first stage already maxed out, you will probably break up the second stage like crazy. That'd be my guess. Which could be fun, because that's kind of how the Typhon works, the Phosphorus Typhon. That's where that concept came from. It was a bunch of boosters all lined up, and I guess I probably should explain what that is for people who don't know. It was a pedal that I did with Phosphorus, where it was 4 gain stages, and that came from me lining up all of my clean boosts one night just to see what would happen. And I found that like you could get all kinds of magic to happen just by varying how much you slam one boost into the other. And so we did that all internally with a bunch of other switcheroos and tone controls and clean blends and stuff. So that's where that concept came from, was how many boosts can we fit in a box?
You know who used to do that too? Was Big Ear had that.
Did they?
They had the more.
I forgot about that pedal. That thing was cool. Where did it go?
I don't know. I don't even know if it ever came out. I thought, like, I remember playing with it at a Summer NAMM once.
I saw it in Grant's house. That's the only, and that's why I completely forgot about it. I saw it one time. Oh, he should come out with that.
Well, considering your Typhon sold out pretty quick too, if I remember right.
Yeah, we did V1, V2, and they both moved real fast. I don't remember, a couple days, day and a half, something like that. And
before I got to it.
People seem to like it. They don't pop up on Reverb very much. Sometimes when I do these, I'm like, oh, man, we should have did more. I don't know how to do this anymore. But I am working on something with Big Ear. Speaking of that, that's a tale for another time.
Well, we'll have to talk about that before our next week's sponsor spot. Anyway,
yes.
So speaking of dirty boosts, actually, TC Electronic has released their take on the Klon with the Zeus drive.
The Zeus drive.
It's got a fat switch, which probably deals with your just bass cut that is inherent in Klons.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's basically a Klon.
Right. Which, the Klon is a fantastic circuit. That's my thing with Klons. Whenever I see anybody make one, I'm like, if you did a halfway decent job on it, it's going to sound great, because Klons sound great. So I'm sure it's cool. And it's $60.
Yeah,
like
$60. So finally kind of coming in at some of that more low price.
That soul food.
Food, yeah. Where the soul food versus a Klon is not a very, like, they're similar kind of vibes, but they're not the same. So
yeah, I feel like the soul food is it's a little less, and this could just be perception, but it feels a little less refined. It feels a little rowdier in a good way than a traditional quote unquote Klon.
Oh yeah.
But still does the thing for the most part.
It does the thing.
I wonder if this will.
I mean, I skipped the whole. I've been on that Klon train for a while now. I mean, I have KTR as my go-to now. Mm-hmm. And I've had that for a few years, and how I got it was a journey that we've shared on this show a few times. So yeah, coming in at $60. I mean, I think you're competing with Donner at that point. You're competing with the Amazon pedals at
Are
that
the
point.
Donners? I thought they were like $30.
I know, but
Are they-
like I'm just like you're more in that market now than you are actually like competing with like a J Rocket Archer or even like a full size
Yeah.
Tumnus, for example.
For sure. And I mean, I think that's the way that TC, this is my viewpoint on TC. So they, for a long time, were an established kind of higher end audio brand when they first started.
Mm-hmm.
And then they kind of went down this arc of being known as a little bit of a cheaper brand, a more budget brand. And then around the Pro Guitar Shop era, they started kind of getting back into that higher end ballpark. They had the Nova series, which I think was always kind of underrated, and started pushing the higher end of the spectrum a little bit. And then after they were acquired by old Uli, they started going back down that budget path. And there's nothing wrong with any of these approaches, but I think TC in general is a confusing company to pigeonhole, and not in a good way. Like in a way, it's like, are you a budget brand or are you a high end brand? What are you? What do you make?
I think it's the same thing with like, for at least in my eyes, when you talk about like Roland Boss trying to sell you like the 500 series pedals, and you're like, no, get out of here. That's Strymon territory. You're not making the big supercomputer. Like I always kind of like write off Boss that, where I like Boss in my head is analog or digitally single size pedals. Like that line is what their product is to me. And maybe I come from a weird time where TC Electronic to me is the Tone Print series, which was for a lot of people was a better option than Boss.
Right. More versatile anyway.
Yeah, that was kind of that's where they sat there, right? Like that was we can get into the Tone Prints and we can do all this weird stuff with it, or I can download my favorite artist Tone Print. Like all that stuff got really cool, and that's who they were competing against in my mind. This is like grabbing the Behringer pedal line, putting them in a better box, and that's kind of consistently what it's felt like.
Yeah.
But $60 your first, if you've been Klon curious and you didn't, I don't know, you were trying to avoid the Chinese brands, which
you're not really, because
not really anymore.
Yeah, because if those are Behringer, then they're probably made in Music City, China, which is literally what it's called, Music City, China. Yes, Behringer is so big they own a city. Everyone, I don't know if a lot of people know that, but it's true. And so yeah, that is essentially a Chinese brand. But I will say, I think based on what I've heard, I think you'll have a better time dealing with TC Electronic if something were to go wrong versus something like Donner. Donner, you're going to email their customer service and you're going to hear crickets. At least you'll hear something from TC.
Well, what you're really going to get is you're going to try to bank on your Amazon Prime.
That's right.
Covering you with Donner.
That's pretty much your only option.
Yeah.
With Donner or any of those brands. Not to just single out one, but any of the ones that look exactly the same, that you're going to run into that same problem. Definitely. With TC, you at least have something behind it. So there you go.
In the last on the pedal market, for at least this week, Strymon has come out with the Conduit compact hub that makes your pedal board MIDI capable. Blake, this has you written all over it, doesn't it?
That's me.
Yeah.
I'll be right on it. I can't wait to get on that. Can't wait. I'm so excited.
So what this initially, you look at it and you go, wait, don't we already have like 4 of these on the market? It's a MIDI to 1/4-inch MIDI adapter for the most part. But where this gets a little more interesting is, one, it adds USB to it, which is for those who are setting up their pedal board. That is actually kind of a fun little, I can just I can just send a PC or a CC command for my computer instead of dialing through menus on a MIDI controller or something like that. Let you set up a lot faster, which could be pretty cool. Also just I can dial into my Ableton set list, or I can do my switching and stuff like that through Ableton or whatever you're using, the playback. If you're playing with tracks and stuff like that, it offers another functionality that gets there. And then the other really cool part about this one that I'm interested in is, So I come from the Chase Bliss MIDI world, is where I started, right? And so that is 1/4 inch MIDI. You're sending things out, but it's a one-way communication. You're only sending information to the pedal. This is actually a two-way street. So this is using now that MIDI has been standardized for 1/4 inch. You are seeing that send and receive over 1/4 inch now. So this opens up a pretty interesting world here of what can be done. And at $150, it's actually quite accessible.
Yeah, that's not bad.
It's not bad.
That's got to be one of the most. That's got to be one of the most affordable Strymon products. Period. Right?
Yeah, I think the only thing cheaper is their like single power supply. And their cables. So it's pretty cool. And I'm curious because a lot of the big boy Strymon stuff has full size MIDI on them, as well as a lot of the expression ports can also function as MIDI now. So this could be an indication that Strymon is going into the 1/4 inch MIDI world for future releases.
I know that for other products that I've been sort of like tangentially involved in, that 1/4 inch has always been the go-to, because it's like, why I can do, especially now, we can do everything we need to do with 1/4 inch for a guitar pedal. We don't need the full pin connection. It's just more expensive, slightly more difficult to put on, and hardly any guitar players use it. So let's just do 1/4 inch.
And the cables are harder to deal with, especially on a pedal board.
So I think that is a very good thing. I like 1/8 inch too. The way Botch the band, they make pedals now. Boss does it, but that does present a little bit of, they're smaller cables, they're easier to break. Not everyone's using it. I don't know. And I think 1/4 inch and 1/8 inch, it's like, well, the communication protocol's the same, I think. So
it's the same pin out, yeah.
Yeah, it's the same port, or just different port size. So I think 1/4 inch is going to be the way most people end up going eventually. Just makes sense.
Nice. Well, let's talk about some guitars too. We got some other fun ones. So Gretsch has added to its semi-hollow range with the new range of staple P90 fitted models. So you've got in the Streamliner, you've got the center block, and actually they're all Streamliner lines. So those are all super affordable too, ranging from about that $500 standpoint. So I never try to read Gretsch model numbers, but the 2622T is your bigger one, and your 2655T is your smaller one. And all I can do is call them out by like the ES Gibson sizes that they kind of wind up being about the same sizes. Now, are you a staple P90 guy? Do you have any guitars with that?
I don't have any guitars with it, but I've played a lot of them, mostly Les Pauls, and I think they're very cool. Just kind of a slightly unique take on them. I don't think they're dramatically different than a regular dog ear or something, but aesthetically I like them, and they kind of they give it a little more of a vintage vibe overall, in my opinion. I think they're cool. I love looking at them mostly, honestly. I mean, know why.
That's the thing. It's like I think they actually do look better.
They do. In that application specifically, I think they look better. Yeah. I wouldn't like it better in a junior, but I do like it better in that.
Yeah, but that lets you go around and say, well, my junior's better than yours because I have staple P90s.
I just say it anyway just because it's mine. It's mine. Mine's better than yours.
Yeah. So these come in both hardtail models and Bigsby models. The Bigsby adds another $100 to the equation, so you go from about $500 to $600. They're import Bigsby's B70 style, or what's the one on the? Is it the 50? B50, yeah. So that tells you it's the import model, not the USA model, but it's the 2000 series Streamliners, like.
It's fine.
It's what
It'll work. Yeah.
So these will be great for all you guitar players out there that buy these and then replace the pickups in them and tell me they're just as good as the high-end model.
I really like. I've always had a soft spot for the lower well, all Gretches in general, but the Electromatics that I've played back in the day, even with that, I actually, it's gonna sound kind of weird, but I got so used to playing the Leon had a Electromatic with the import Bigsby, and I got so used to how the import Bigsby felt that an American one feels weird to me now.
Feels too soft, right?
It does. It feels too soft. I liked the stiffness of the import Bigsby. I don't know why. And also, it honestly, not in smoothness and not in function, obviously, but it feels closer to like how my Mastery feels than a regular USA Bigsby to me.
See, I mean, that's part of the reason I've always liked like a Jazzmaster vibrato style. Is like it's really subtle, so it's actually a vibrato. Versus everyone, like, you know, you do a Strat style trem, everyone's dipping it at least a, you know, half step in and out.
Right.
So it's a different thing.
It is.
Like I can't really do like subtle vibrato even with a Strat trem. You just got to be like just moving it a hair.
I don't want to talk about Strats. We'll lose all of your listeners if I start talking about Strats.
Well, let's have you talk about something I know you want to talk about.
Oh, what do I want to talk about?
Gibson has unveiled a new range of exclusive finishes, including olive drab and ebony finish options.
Yeah, this is super what I want to talk about. How did you know this is what I want to talk about?
These are Blake guitars. Let's be honest.
I know they are. They're cool. They're cool. But I don't know. Is a finish option worthy of a press release? That's my question.
I mean, that's like half the show.
I'm just saying, is a finish option worthy of a press release? New guitar model, sure. New something, sure. But like, hey, we painted it a different color, and you can order it now. It's like, okay. I always love when they found that out when I went to go order one. I could have found it out then. That's fine.
You know, it's one of those things because I hate to say it, a lot of us. Color matters so much.
Oh, color's important. It's huge. I'm just saying I don't think it's newsworthy. I think that's I mean, it's like we chose to paint it a different color. It's like you could have chose that at literally any point ever.
Yeah, yet, you know, you have the John Mayer model suddenly comes up with a new color. Like one of the things I tossed out was John Mayer made an album announcement and he's sitting with a pink version of his Silver Sky. And everyone's like, does that mean a pink one's coming out? Does that mean like, and everyone's freaking out on all the forums right now. So
that's true. That's fair. But that's not a press release.
Not yet. Wait till Friday and when the actual announcement happens.
Fair point. And he'll still unveil it. He'll sell 14 million of them on the same day, and then they won't have them again. Yeah, that's fair. I could be all wet on this. All right, I'm willing to admit that.
Yeah, I mean, have I mentioned? Were you there for my hot take that I actually think the Silver Sky is going to become the cheapest used PRS in a few years? Because they're selling so many of them right now that the market's going to flood here. I think there is. Having said that, it's a Strat, and the market can't get enough Strats, even still to this day, despite people like you.
Yeah, I have to think about this. Let me think about this theory for a minute. I think there's some merit there. I think that depends on John Mayer. I think that depends on how relevant he continues to be, and if that dips into obscurity, which is not likely, but
no, he's like our generation's Dave Gilmour, unfortunately. Whether you like it or not, he's kind of the guitar god of our era.
You know, John's an interesting character because I think I would love hanging out with that guy. I think he would be really fun to hang out with. I don't care about his music that much.
I forgive you.
Is that a weird thing? Like, I feel like he would be the coolest guy to chill with ever. And he's amazing at guitar.
Oh yeah.
I just don't care that much. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes any sense or not.
I mean, our Patreon group is half us, me and John trying to convince people that like John Mayer, and the rest of the Patreons just not. But
Well, I mean, you know you can get into Spotify and see what artists your listeners listen to. My number one is John Mayer, so I understand, which is kind of weird considering like I don't think I've ever like actively hated on John Mayer, but I don't think I've ever talked about him. And that's pretty much how I feel about him.
I also feel like if you ever have him on your show, it's going to be a 3-hour episode.
I feel like it would be the funnest episode ever, and I would probably like change my whole attitude on him just because I think he seems like such a fun guy. I think we would hit it off. And I'm putting it out in the world right now. John, I'll start listening to all your records if you come onto my show.
Yeah, you're listening to the Effects Loop podcast for sure.
Dude, you never know. That's one thing that I've learned. I've found out some people that listen to mine sometimes. I'm like, wait, you spend your time doing what? You of all people have better things to do. Like, so you never know. You never know who's listening.
Yeah. So despite Blake's hating on these, you got a Les Paul Special and a Classic, both coming in olive drab.
Don't mistake it. I like it. I like the olive drab a lot.
I think the olive drab is really the highlight of this, because then you get the ebony standard, Les Paul standard, both in the 50s and the 60s. They look good. What's interesting is the knobs change between the two models. Then you got a 335, an SG standard, and a Flying V all coming in that ebony. I really don't care. Like, another black guitar is not a press release, but I don't know. Olive drab seems to be one of those special colors that keeps getting more and more sought after, or at least featured in Gibson now. Or because you had, was it American Music Supply had exclusive run of Epiphones in this color, and they sold really well.
That's right. I'm trying to pull this up again because I looked at them and then I lost it. There we go. There it is. Yeah, I didn't notice the knobs, honestly. Yeah, the olive drab is the best one, but that 335 in black looks... Again, it's not a press release, but it sure does look nice.
By the way, the 335 is a P90.
Yeah, oh yeah, that is worth noting. I think that thing looks stunning.
I think it looks great as a P90 guitar, too. It's got a tuxedo look. I mean, obviously a black ES, you immediately start thinking of Lucille, even though it's not quite as, this isn't as appointed, and it's, someone will go, that's an Epiphone. I know. Yeah, but I don't know. Flying V's don't do it for me.
I like the V. I like the V pretty well, but it's not something... Flying V is something that I want, but it'll probably be one of the last guitars I ever get. Because it's like, basically, it's a less comfortable Les Paul. I have a couple Les Pauls, so I don't see myself ever actively pursuing a V unless something changes. But I do kind of like them.
Yeah, I can't.
I'm a metalhead. It's in my body. I can't help it. It's just there.
Well, should we get into our topic, even though we've already had a topic?
We have topics? I thought we just shot from the hip like I do on my program. We don't just shoot from the hip. No, I know you guys are more professional than that.
I mean, you're getting a bit of a formula now. You've got your questions.
I have a beginning and I have an end. And then the middle is who knows what's going to happen. It could be anything.
So, big news today, we all kind of woke up to this, is Boutique Amp Distributions, LA warehouse, got hit by a massive fire.
Yes, big
time. To the level of all the photos I'm seeing, you see a few pieces of framing, and that's about it.
Yes. As you can imagine, I, of course, was like, Brian, what's going on?
Yeah, and he's probably trying to figure out the same thing.
He basically was trying to figure out the same thing, but in good news, doesn't sound like it's as bad as it looks. It sounds like that is a different building.
That's not their main building?
It's not their main building. It's something that's adjacent to the main building.
Oh.
So I think for the most part, that company's okay. But of course, when people saw that, like, even like, Joe Morgan, I saw him post like, it's on fire. Like, he didn't know what was going on at the time, clearly, and we still don't fully know what's going on. I'm sure I'll get the scoop later this week, but in a nutshell, it doesn't sound like it's quite as bad as it looks. I don't know what was in the building that is totally gutted, but it doesn't sound like that's the entirety of Boutique's operation, so that's good.
That's actually really good to hear. I mean, even if it's a warehouse, that could disrupt the supply chain for a while.
It could. I don't know. The responses I got weren't hyper worrisome, so hopefully it seemed like it was going to be okay, but we'll find out. I'll know more later this week, but I think we can at least breathe somewhat of a sigh of relief for the time being. I don't think the whole thing is gone, which is what I initially thought was going on.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, if their whole operation was gone, that's a big portion of the industry all consolidated there.
Oh yeah. That would hurt. Huge. That would hurt a lot of people. And I mean, they would, Avi, the guy who runs that dude's resourceful. Like, it wouldn't be the end by any means. But it would definitely be a major hiccup for quite a long time, to say the least. I mean, it's insured, I'm sure, and all that, but like, still time's a factor. You got to get all that stuff back. Plus, supply chains are already disrupted.
Yeah, so, in a year where it's already hard to get your hands on a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. So, fingers crossed that it's not terrible. Well, I'm clearly there's something really bad happened. Just hopefully there was nothing in there. I don't know. But yeah. That was not what I expected to wake up to this morning.
Do we all go speculatively buy a bunch of Wampler pedals right now?
Brian's not going to care. Yeah,
for the upcoming gear crunch.
I should say yes, because he's my friend, and you should do that.
Is it sad that that's kind of how a lot of people think right now too? It's like, oh, there's a fire. It's, okay. Even before did anyone die? Is everyone okay? There's what's this going to do to the gear market?
How can I get my hands on a Soldano?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What can I flip? Can I flip some stuff? No. What can I buy?
Yeah. It just is the nature of things. Unfortunately, if it doesn't directly impact you, that is unfortunately a lot of people's first place they mentally go. They're like, oh, maybe I can get some money for this Tumnus now.
Well, they're all mad that after all this time, they finally realized they should have bought some AMC stock a while ago.
Yeah, I got to get on it. Hodl, baby, hodl.
Too late to get on it. But
no, it's going to the moon. It's going to go higher.
So, at the risk of insider trading, I sold my original position in AMC today.
Oh, yeah?
Well, yeah, it's tripled from what I bought into. So I bought out a third of my holdings. So now I'm just playing with winnings. It's like what I did with GameStop a month or two ago. I'm just sitting there watching it and like, no more. I'm not sweating when I'm watching it dip anymore because I'm like,
right.
I can't lose money. This is not gone. It's just how much do I win at this point? And it's like,
right.
If you still think this thing's going to go nuts, you're like, oh, I'm more okay waiting now.
Do you want to hear a dumb story that's sort of related to this?
Sure.
So I did the ultimate finding money in the couch thing. So a few years ago, I bought in, not crazily heavy, but like I bought in moderately heavy on Litecoin. And this was when the price was basically nothing. Mm-hmm. And I had it in a wallet, in a digital wallet, and I was like, cool, this. I'm just gonna sit on this. Like I didn't even really check prices. I'm not gonna play that game. I'm just gonna buy this and hold this. And I had that smoke damage to my house a few years ago. I don't know if the listeners of this show know that, but basically I had to get all the stuff out of my house. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it got thrown away. It was a big nightmare. In that mad dash, I lost my paper key for the wallet.
Oh.
And so for a long time, I've just pretended that money didn't exist. I just pretended I didn't ever do any of that. I'm like, it's just going to make me sad to do the math. I'm not even going to think about it. Not even going to think about it at all. But I didn't realize that that I was good to me. Past me was good to future me. And I actually forgot that I had made a backup paper key that I'd kept out in the shred shed. And when I was doing a big cleanup session on it here a couple months ago or a month ago, I found it. And I was like, oh, it's the paper key. And I logged in to it and I was like, wow, I am way up. And I bounced out right as the crypto market took a huge dip, like right day before
Elon went on Saturday Night Live.
Exactly. I bounced out and I was like, man, I have never ever came ahead on one of these trades. That's why I decided to not worry about it, because every time I've tried to do a little day trading or something, I'm terrible at it. I'm better to just buy stuff that I'm confident in and pretend it never happened and then look at it in a few years. That's just better for me. And this is the one time that like a quote unquote like day trade, even though it ended up being a couple year trade, actually worked out in my favor. So I was like, that's cool. That all of a sudden made a few financial concerns that I had not concerns anymore. And so it's like, cool.
What guitar are you buying?
I didn't buy a guitar. I was a responsible boy and got rid of some bad stuff that I didn't need to have on my record anymore. So but it was a good feeling. It was a good feeling to just all of a sudden be like, whoa, well, that is no longer an issue. Poof. Like magic, it's gone.
You might want to be a little more specific, because you just saying you came into a lot of money and that got some bad stuff off your record makes you sound really sketch.
That's all anybody needs to know. That's all they need to know about me. Tone Mob, remember?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Blake, thanks for joining us this week. You definitely brought some interesting perspectives to some stuff. We had good some definitely. So where can people find you if they want to hear you talk on the internet more?
If they want to hear me talk on the internet, I am coming at you every week on the Tone Mob podcast, where I talk to guitar people about whatever happens to come up. Sometimes it's gear, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's aliens. It could be anything. So that's a lot of fun. I'm also a co-host on the Chasing Tone podcast with Brian Wampler, and now I think a permanent fixture, Richard Oliver, who's a Wampler employee, and he's been injecting some really awesome spice into that show that we so dearly needed. So that's been a lot of fun lately.
Wait, you're saying when a show's not going well, you bring on guest hosts and then maybe make them a permanent fixture?
That's what I hear. It's word on the street. Yeah.
Blake, what are you up to next Tuesday? No. I'm kidding.
I just checked the calendar. It looks like I'm recording with the Effects Loop podcast.
Yeah.
That's weird. Yeah. That's just what people need, is more of me talking on the internet. That's what everyone wants.
Especially a guitar-oriented weekly show. That's
what they want. The market's really, they're demanding that the way they're demanding Silver Skies. Yeah. Uh-huh. Sure.
There was a real demand for a little bit there.
And then the market got glutted, and it became the thing that no one wanted.
Well, thanks for joining us at the Effects Loop.
Bye.
By the way, you can also join our Facebook group, Instagram, YouTube. You can email us. You can join our Patreon. Actually, our Patreons get the episodes early, and they also get to chat with us and give us topics and things like that, such as this week when I completely ignored all their topics. Despite asking for them, because Blake came in with his own and it worked. So you can check us out at theeffectsloop.com. You'll find everything there. And then the last thing to mention again is Stringjoy. Check out Stringjoy. Play their strings. They'll change you. Trust me on this. We were like, should we try? And then I tried one. I'm like, okay, all my guitars.
There we go.
I'm done with the old guys. Done. And I had been like 10 years with that string company before I just went overnight done. So go buy one set. Just buy one if you haven't tried them. See if you like it. I think they'll be different.
And if you don't like them, they'll give you your money back. So try that with another brand.
Yeah. So. Especially something disposable. Like it's not like you can return the strings and they get reused.
No. It's just that's the thing. Like, because we know it's hard to switch over, and so. It's like, well, let's make this as easy as we can't give them away. We're too small for that. But this way we can make people a little more comfortable giving them a whirl.
Maybe you should just give away high E strings.
Just here,
'Cause
see what this one does for you.
You'll get a bunch of 13-year-olds with their first guitar that they're just breaking them constantly.
I mean, it would be helpful for some situations. That's why I went up a gauge a long time ago.
Well, with that, thanks for joining us, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.
Bye.
Strong. We have to just keep pushing along. We are one. So let's come together, show 'em some love. There are many things that this world needs, but the most important one is unity. United we stand, divided we fall. Through the ages this has been the same old song. Yeah. We are strong. We have to just keep pushing along. We are one. So let's come together, show some love. This song is not about race or politics, but the hate that resides in the hearts of men. Desperate times call in desperate measures. So why don't we be desperate to love each other?
Let's erase hate from the dictionary. Why is negativity always drawn out? Pictionary, visualize love, energize lives together. We undefeated. A plan to make well, there's no gloves needed when we weed into the mindset of achieving and believing in community that remains happy. Never after, the world should be one. Hate annihilated, every heart is one. Love again. So
Don't buy the hate, don't separate. We're strong when love overcomes. Don't buy the hate, don't separate. We're strong when love overcomes. Don't buy the hate, don't separate. We're strong when love overcomes. Don't buy the hate, don't separate.
All right, now we're recording.
Okay.
No, wait. We need to be very specific with what order we go in today.
Okay. What order are we going in today?
It's just you and me. I don't want you confused by who you're waiting for.
I don't know who I'm waiting for. Who am I waiting for? Diaz?
Yeah.
Where are you at?
Yeah, we'll just wait for 20 minutes for Diaz to jump on the call again.
But it was only 5.
And that's okay.